It's not. I lied. The real point of the video is that Zack Snyder directed a kids' fantasy movie about owls, and I find that very funny. Zack Snyder, architect of the Snyderverse, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, the good version of Justice League. That's right, I said it. There's just so much hostility online whenever anything Zack Snyder and James Gunn is brought up. How did that even happen? It's a battle I really don't care about. I enjoyed elements of the Snyderverse despite its many faults, and I also enjoy elements of the Gunverse despite its faults. My favorite movies from either director are the ones that have nothing to do with DC.
Get the dog.
And that includes Watchmen. Zack Snyder has such a distinct style. It's really something you love or hate. And frankly, despite it mainly consisting of hype moments and aura, I like it. Film is a visual medium. Snyder's a visual director. I love that he's just unapologetic in his distinct vision. I love Zack Snyder like I love trains. Trains are best when they have a distinct direction, and not when they're derailing off the track right onto my car. He works best when he has guidance, or to put it bluntly, when someone else writes the script. Which is why his best movies are stuff like 300 and Dawn of the Dead. Wait, what the fuck? There's a consistent theme with his filmography. Dark, mature, very serious in tone. His whole catalog is like that. Every single movie, except for one. Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole.
To the sky.
Yes, the Owl movie. He directed that. Seems a bit unbelievable. Then you see this shot and go, oh yeah, that's a Zack Snyder film, alright. The existence of this movie just fascinates me. You see, I'm not just talking about this because of Zack Snyder. Oh no. Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole was based on a book series that I absolutely loved as a kid, and this movie was my first lesson in how adaptations can disappoint you. I read a lot as a kid, way more than I do now. One series I remember distinctly was The Guardians of Ga'Hoole, a series of kids' books about a fantasy world populated by owls. There were owl kingdoms, and they had owl wars. I read the first 4 or 5 books, I think. I don't really remember. I do remember being excited when the movie was announced. This was gonna be from WB and the guy who did 300. There's no way this could go wrong. It went wrong. At least to me as a kid. It's been so long that I don't even remember what I disliked about it. Maybe it was the pacing, maybe it was because they changed some stuff from the books. I didn't hate it, I just didn't think it did the book justice. Then, 15 years go by, everyone's fighting over James Gunn's Superman, I remember the Snyderverse, and then I remember the Owl movie. So I thought, what if I went back and read those books before revisiting this movie again? Would I have the same thoughts I did as a kid? So I sat down, and I read these books to see if I could recapture the feeling of when I was a kid. I didn't recapture those feelings. Man, those sure were some owl adventures. I read the first 6 books in the Guardians of Ga'Hoole series by Catherine Lasky. Only the first 6 books? Why not the rest? Well, for one, dude, there's like 19 books. I'm not reading all of those for this video. Some are prequels, some are sequels, some have different main characters. You can think of the first 6 books as an arc. That's all I care about for this video. Now, fun fact about me, I love owls. They're my favorite animal. They're basically flying cats, and it's just something about them. The way they move, the way they act. I love owls, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves owls as much as Catherine Lasky. She did not make a fantasy series with owls to talk about a fantasy world. She made a fantasy world to talk about owls. That isn't a joke. She said it herself. So much of these books is just stuff owls do in nature and incorporating it into the lore. Gizzards, pellets, owls being nocturnal animals. It's such a specific reason to start a fantasy series, and I love it. Like, she really liked owls, and she wanted everyone else to like them too. And sadly, it's really the most interesting thing about these books. Yeah, I'm sorry. I hate to say it. That second reading for me as an adult was brutal. It's probably because I'm a 30-year-old man reading a children's fantasy series, but I didn't get a lot out of these books. They're very short. I could finish each in like 2 hours. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not expecting a Song of Ice and Fire or anything. I was just expecting more. That's on me. I'm not the intended demographic anymore. As a kid, I loved them, so they did their job. That said, man, are there some pacing issues in these books. Like each one can be summarized by a singular event. A majority of the story is really owls sitting around in Owl Hogwarts, or flying somewhere else to sit around. New discoveries are stewed on ad nauseum. They feel like they go on endlessly. A lot of times, information is just repeated to get it through the reader's head. It's pretty slow. I'm sorry if I offended any Guardians of Ga'Hoole fans out there with my review, but those are my thoughts. Are there any Ga'Hoole fans out there anymore? I'm actually curious. Hopefully I don't get mobbed by a bunch of Ga'Hooligans. My point here is that these books, by their very structure, can't really be adapted like an average young adult novel. This isn't like other kids' books like Narnia or The Road, where one book equals one movie. These books aren't paced like that. The only way to get anything resembling a 3-act structure is to just smush all these novels together, which is exactly what this movie did. Hey, it's me! You know me, you love me, Chef Bobby Boobadelli. I got my restaurant back. But you know what? I think I'm done with professional cooking. I think I want to get into painting miniatures. And you know, this is a very time-consuming hobby. I could be like most tabletop enthusiasts and get a pizza alongside a side of regret, but I'm gonna be smarter than that. I'm gonna use the sponsor of today's video, Factor. Factor delivers delicious cooked meals right to your door. All you gotta do is microwave them for 2 minutes and you're ready to go. You don't even need to be a professional chef, miniature painter like myself. You're a grown-up baby bird now. You don't need me. Spread your wings and fly. Look right here at these options I got. I got the protein selection. We got fajita spiced shrimp and filet mignon, sour cream and chive chicken. And what I'm having right now, barbecue sauce pulled pork. You can get calorie-smart meals, gluten-free options, and now even Asian and Mediterranean meals. Eating clean is so easy thanks to Factor. Wowzers, I'm Italian. So why not try Factor out? It's an easy way to have home-cooked meals for those that don't have the time to cook. Just click the link in the description and use my code PointlessHubFB50 to get 50% off your first Factor box, plus free breakfast for 1 year. Now if you don't mind me, I have to paint some orcs before this tournament. Once again, I have been undone by procrastination. Welcome to my 3rd grade book report. Soren is an owlet living with his loving family in a 2-story suburban home in Toledo, Ohio. Things are good for him. His mom and dad tell him stories about the Guardians of Ga'Hoole, the legendary warriors who save owl kind. Soren and his sister Eglantine both love these stories, while their brother Clud does not. Clud is edgy and hates everything. They also have a blind snake as a maid. Barn owls have snakes as maids. That's just a thing that happens in this world. One day, Soren gets drop-kicked out of the nest by Clud, and before he can do anything about it, he gets thrown in the back of a white van by some strange owls. Those owls take him to St. Agilia's School for Orphaned Owls, also known as St. Aggies. Just like the real Aggies, this place is a cult. Baby owls are forced to do manual labor, like sorting eggs, digging through pellets for pieces of metal, or farming likes on social media, and they do so while brainwashed. The school forces the owls to stare at the moon for so long, they enter a zombie-like state called moonblinked. This is where Soren meets an elf owl named Gylfie. They both decide to be smart and not get brainwashed, pretending to be moonblinked to survive. Turns out there's some double agents inside the school that want to take St. Aggie's down, like one owl named Hortense, who gets killed and never mentioned again until like the 4th book. and another called Grimble. Grimble also gets killed, but not before teaching Soren and Gylfi how to fly. Yeah, right off the bat, some named characters die. That was pretty wild to me as a kid. After escaping, these two then meet some other owls, like Twilight, a loner orphan who has always lived by himself, and Digger. He sure is wacky. They kill some enemy owls and go off to find the Guardians of Ga'Hoole. Book 1 is really the most eventful of all the books. I'm gonna skim over the rest pretty fast because they can be summed up by like one major event. One time, just nothing happened in an entire book. Book 2 is about the gang making it to the Great Tree and meeting the Guardians. The Great Ga'Hoole Tree is smack dab in the middle of the Sea of Hoolmere. There's a lot of Hools in the story. He was an important guy. They meet a nice old owl named Ezelrib, who is very wise and unassuming. There is no possibility he ever had a past of being a great wizard. I mean warrior. Most of the book is them getting taught to do owl things in owl class. It isn't until book 3 when the real threat of the series is actually unveiled. Racist owls. That is not a joke. Those are the main bad guys going forward. Racist owls. Really, more specifically, German owls? That's the most I can say before YouTube kills me. You see, there's a big bad owl named Metalbeak who rules over a secret army called the Pure Ones. The Pure Ones are made up exclusively of barn owls, just like Soren, who think they're superior to all the other owls. They want to take over the world, and it's up to this coalition of owl species to bring them down. World War II with birds. Stop laughing. At the end of book 3, Soren and pals finally confront this mysterious Metalbeak. And guess who it is? Guess who Metalbeak could possibly be? Of all the characters I've mentioned in this summary, I suspected who it was halfway through, and you might too. Metalbeak is revealed to be Clud. That's right, Clud is back, and he's more racist than ever. Clud is now a chud. Book 4 is just the Guardians preparing for an owl war, as Metalbeak, alongside his girlfriend Naira, plan to take over the tree and destroy the UN. There's a battle, the Pure One's plan doesn't work, some owls get trapped in glue traps. It's a whole thing. Absolutely nothing happens in book 5. What a waste of time. It's just Soren's sister Eglantine getting brainwashed by Metalbeak's girlfriend the entire time. The only interesting development is that the Pure Ones take over St. Aggie's at the end of the book. Literally, the characters find out in the last chapter. Book 6 is the gang flying all around until the literal last chapter, where they attack the Pure Ones at St. Aggie, and Clud dies. This whole arc ends with Soren and Eglantine's parents coming back as ghosts. They died somehow, it's never explained. And the ghosts congratulate their kids on killing their douchebag brother before going off to Owl Heaven. The end. That's really the gist of the story, so you get the movie. There's some other things, like how Ezelrib, the old peaceful owl, is actually one of the most famous owl warriors. Or how about the absolute craziest thing? All humans are extinct. I don't know how I forgot about this detail as a kid. I figured it was just a land of sentient owls. But throughout the story, it's lore dropped that humans existed at one time, and owls replaced us, left to populate our monuments and our ruins like stone castles. This is a life after people situation mixed with the future is wild, where life just moved on after humanity. Owls are the new squids. Owls have gained sentience and started creating technology on their own. Like, the Guardians have mastered fire and learned to forge things. These owls know about astronomy, navigation, and freaking magnetics. Magnets, how do they work? That's the entire plot. The most important resource that all these owls are fighting over are these bits of iron called flecks. If you have a lot of iron together, it becomes magnetic, and these magnets almost have magical properties. They mess with the owl's navigation system, basically immobilizing them. The reason I mention all of this is because the movie simply doesn't. As we've seen throughout the years, adapting a novel is not an easy thing to do. Adapting a novel into a movie is even harder. Before shows on streaming could just waste a bunch of time and launder money, movies used to have to pick and choose which parts of the novels to include in the runtime. It's even worse for animated movies, which are usually an hour to an hour and 30 minutes instead of a 2-hour runtime. Legend of the Guardians kind of had an unwinnable challenge here, being both an adaptation of a novel and a cartoon. What was it supposed to do? Follow the book's plot for the most part and have the climax be Soren and the gang killing some owls in the desert? Was it supposed to focus on them being taught at Owl Hogwarts and have a series of movies where nothing really happens? Or could it condense these books into a digestible plot with a 3-act structure? I get why they did option 2, which is funny because when I first watched this movie as a kid, I thought the movie was too fast. They changed so much. I was mad. I stomped my little legs out of the theater or something. As an adult who's been disconnected from the series for years, I gotta say, I think the movie is better than the books. Yes, shocking, I know. Now, it's not perfect. Sometimes it just doesn't explain things to the audience.
Charlie, what just happened?
Like there's terminology thrown out that your average viewer is just never gonna get the answer to. Like, why did the owls just keep saying Glocks?
Horribly tragic, I know, but by the mercy of Glocks.
Oh, Glocks. Glocks, dang it. Well, in the books it's explained that the owls call God Glocks for some reason, and the movie just never bothers to let the audience in on it. I guess it's something hard to do without a third-person narrator. The movie never really explains what the Guardians of Ga'Hoole even do, outside of the vague, they're the good guys. We never even get an explanation for what Flecks actually are. So it just seems like these owls are fighting over magical orbs or something. Why do they do that? Why are they so strongly affected by this blue light? We never know. This is the owl's navigation system being disrupted, by the way. They aren't being force lightninged. Now, with that said, I don't really care that much that they didn't explain a lot. Personally, I think the best way to watch these movies is after reading these books in the span of 2 weeks like I did. It's kinda cool to see these characters animated. But I guess if you had no idea what this stuff was, then the pacing would feel incredibly fast. For me, I was just pointing at the TV each time I recognized something. Like, holy fuck, it's Bubo!
Bubo, sharpen the battle claws.
That's right, Bubo the Owl from Clash of the Titans is here too. What a deep cut. 10 out of 10 book and movie right here. He's even the blacksmith. Because Bubo was made by the Greek god of metalworking. You gotta admit, this is cool. Well, I thought it was funny. Speaking of funny, the humor is very forced in this movie.
He flies off into danger to be battered, bruised, and made.
The book was funny sometimes, but really just from misunderstandings or owls being annoyed with one another. The movie has so many moments of levity where it's trying so hard to be funny, and it just isn't.
Fleck. Metal Fleck.
Now, I'm very perceptive.
He is.
I am.
Like, I recognize what I'm seeing is supposed to be funny, but I'm just staring blankly. I imagine a lot of kids were too. The funniest thing here is probably the owlets after getting their soul drained. Just look at their stupid faces. They brainwashed Ovaltine. The biggest tonal issue comes smack dab in the middle after the owls reach the tree. In the middle of this Owl Lord of the Rings where they just reached Rivendell, there is a montage set to an Owl City song. Oh, I get it. Owl City? You would not believe your eyes? 10 million fireflies? But it's not even that song, despite my wife gaslighting me that it was for all these years. It's some other one. A theme song they were just so proud of, they needed it here. As jarring as it is in the movie, I'm glad they included it twice. It's so funny hearing the most uplifting song ever alongside the words, directed by Zack Snyder. And those credits arrive faster than you think. This movie moves quick. It's like they took all 6 books and tossed them in a blender. It led to some interesting changes. For one, Cludd the brother. In the book, Cludd is just a psychopath. A one-dimensional weirdo that even his parents don't really like. As much as I find one-dimensional villains fun, this isn't Disney. Cludd isn't singing a little number. I want something a little more complex. And luckily, the movie actually makes him a character. The way they do it is by doing something a little controversial. They combined St. Aggies and the Pure Ones into one. In the movie, St. Aggies are controlled by the Pure Ones, with an older Metalbeak and Naira established immediately as the villains.
But soon enough you will understand the Pure Ones are your new family.
This was shocking to a lot of Gahooligans back in the day, or at least it was shocking to me. I think the change works simply because it streamlines the story. In the book, St. Aggies kinda just disappears for a while. They're like the tutorial mission Soren and Gylfi have to escape from. We don't see them again until book 4. By introducing the Pure Ones immediately, and meeting a Metalbeak, the audience sees the true stakes right off the bat. Plus, it actually gives St. Aggie something to do. But most importantly, it gives Clud a reason to turn bad. In the movie, Clud isn't evil right off the bat. He has a rivalry with Soren like brothers do, so he gets jealous because his dad praises Soren all the time. His dad and Soren even share enjoyment of the Guardian myths that Clud doesn't care for.
Look, you have a soft head, Soren. I think Da has filled it with stories and dreams. There's nothing wrong with dreams.
This is the change that I really like. Instead of Soren getting kicked out by his evil brother, they both fall out of the tree by accident, and then both taken to St. Aggie's. It's there where Soren speaks up for a little elf owl, and he gets punished. Meanwhile, Clud says nothing, and he gets praised.
Now there's a soldier.
I have done nothing but teleport bread for 3 days.
He turns because he finds community in St. Aggie's and the Pure Ones, while Soren doesn't. Despite being the villain, I find this version of Clud way more interesting than even Soren. Ah, man, Soren's a nice owl, but that's all he really is. He's just so annoying.
There's nothing wrong with dreams.
He's not particularly interesting outside of just being the protagonist. He's always worried, very breathy, and his face is often just shocked or scared. Stop staring at me like that. I don't know, maybe I'm just nitpicking here. Soren does have a lot to worry about. This is a very dangerous owl world. One thing that always stuck out to me as a kid was just how brutal the books were. Owls freaking killed each other all the time. A few blows is all that's needed to break a wing or crush an owl's hollow bones. You know the old saying, if you hit a bird with a rock, it dies. Zack Snyder said that was one of the reasons he was interested in the project. Like, he even said it in an interview. I just love that. Classic Snyder. One thing I really like is how these characters being owls actually affects the atmosphere. You know, the lighting, because owls are nocturnal. And in the books, every scene is set during the night, which you can't really do for a movie, because even if you could see anything, it'd get a little boring. So the movie cheats a little with the time of day. Very rarely are any scenes set during the afternoon. Instead, they're in the early morning or late evening. So much of the atmosphere in the movie is warm, full of orange and yellow skies. If something is set during the night, there's something else going on. A lightning storm, a red sun. I like the variety of the set pieces. Visual variety is kind of the phrase of the day. Like, 90% of this movie is really your standard computer animated kids film. But the other 10%, man, that other 10% is just so incredible.
Even lies of Keel, I mean, he's reeling.
Watching this movie is just getting occasionally slapped with the reminder that this is indeed a Snyder film. Really brings up the question, why is this a Snyder film? Why did he agree to this? I figured it was because he had kids and one of them were fans of the book or something, and no. According to this Collider article, he made a kids movie because none of his kids could watch his movies. It's such a Snyder thing that he picked the most violent kids story to tell. But hey, it's still PG, so it counts. This is the one and only family-friendly Zack Snyder movie. Random moments of slow motion, dramatic shots of lightning, classic Snyder framing, all wrapped in a story about owls. I'm not complaining about any of this, I think it's cool. Hell, it even helps with the movie, because owls are fast animals, so how else are you gonna show them fighting? Every impact needs to be seen and felt, because otherwise it's just birds doing this. Is the slow motion effective? I mean, like 70% of the time. Sometimes the slow motion just does not work at all. Things just blur together. But hey, it's hard choreographing owl battles. There's only so much you can do with characters that have 2 legs and wings. I love owls, I really do, but it's so hard to make them look cool. I'm sorry, there's just something fundamentally unserious about birds that aren't hawks or eagles. It kind of takes away from the epicness the movie's going for. This is just a surreal project. Kind of as surreal as seeing a movie about dancing penguins directed by the creator of Mad Max. This is the same studio that brought us Happy Feet. Happy Feet. These two share remarkably similar DNA. Both were produced by Warner Brothers and Village Roadshow, both directed by the last person you would imagine doing an animated bird movie. Both distinctly Australian. Guardians is undeniably an Australian co-production.
And you're gonna need to fly a long way to get to the Guardians.
Animal Logic, the animation studio, is Australian. In the book, where the owls are located is never really specified, but in the adaptation, it's pretty clear where the story is set. Soren and Clud get attacked by a Tasmanian devil. This echidna mentions wild dingoes. Alice Springs. Yeah, so this movie flopped. Pretty hard. It even set up for a sequel. With the original Metal Beak dead, Clud was gonna take up the mantle, Harry Osborn style. We never got to see that happen. This movie just underperformed. It was second in its opening weekend behind Wall Street 2 with Shia LaBeouf. But why? Why did audiences just not respond to this? Well, for one, let's be real, the name absolutely sucks. Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole. Wow. This title only got worse with time. Rise of the Guardians was a year later, then Guardians of the Galaxy, and Halo 5. Guardians. It was just a title that told nothing. It was so forgettable, the only way I could make this video was if I literally tricked you into clicking on it. Who's gonna take their kids to see Owls of Ga'Hoole? Which kid demanded to see that? Apparently I did. Snyder and Warner Bros. Wanted to make a kid-friendly but serious movie, which is great for this particular story, but it's also not very eye-catching to the general audience. Do you think Kung Fu Panda would have been nearly as successful if it had the same fight choreography, but was about a realistic panda not voiced by Jack Black? Western audiences just have a weird dynamic with cartoon movies. The real meat, the real story and heart of a cartoon has to kind of be Trojaned inside a very funny horse. Hell, the only reason Happy Feet succeeded while Ga'Hoole didn't was because dancing penguins are a funny idea. You can market this. You can't really market owls taking themselves seriously. I don't know, it's a shame. Maybe it came out too early. Not all stories really need to be adapted for movies. I'm not the biggest Ga'Hooligan anymore, but I think maybe you could turn this into a show for streaming. I mean, you could turn anything into a show for streaming, the standards are very low nowadays. Each novel could be retold in full without changing any aspect of the plot. Who knows, maybe it could have had a decently sized niche fanbase before Netflix inevitably canceled it after one season.